with us to discuss further affairs. We move now over to South Asia, where Indian Minister Kiren Rijiju firmly backed the Dalai Lama's right to choose his own successor, rejecting China's claim. Speaking ahead of the Tibetan leader's 90th birthday, Rijiju said that only the Dalai Lama or his institution can decide, calling it vital for Buddhist followers and religious freedom. China hit back very strongly, warning India to avoid interfering in internal affairs. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Miao Ning said his reincarnation process must follow historical Chinese laws and customs. She labelled the Tibetan exile administration a separatist group and accused the Dalai Lama of promoting anti-China sentiment. Here's what the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson had to say on the issue.
是藏传佛教特有的传承方式，达赖、班禅等大活佛转世都是按照严密的宗教仪轨和历史定制，根据国内寻访、经评撤迁、中央政府批准的原则开展的。第14世达赖本人也是通过这样的程序，由当时的中国中央政府批准继任坐床的。达赖喇嘛的转世必须坚持上述原则，遵循宗教仪轨和历史定制，按照国家的法律法规办理。
Now, in a related development, China is urging the European Union to work together to ease growing trade tensions. Beijing's Commerce Ministry has called for stronger dialogue and better communication between the two sides. This comes amid disputes over tariffs and market access, which have strained economic ties. China says it hopes the EU will move in the same direction to resolve differences through talks, not confrontation. Both sides remain key partners in global trade, but fraying relations may impact future agreements. We're once again joined by Irina Suckerman, who's a senior journalist located in New York, to discuss this in further detail. Irina, we have the foreign policy of China in two aspects there. Firstly, I want you to briefly talk about the importance of the Dalai Lama and its relation and its significance in its importance with its relationship with India. Why does China want to decide the future of the Dalai Lama and his successor, given that the religious leader is turning 90 years old tomorrow?
Quite simply, China is a colonialist power, and it views Tibet as part of its acquisitions, not just at home, where it has violently annexed the territory and destroyed cultural and religious heritage in order to advance a conformist internal narrative. But it has also attempted to export its foreign policy abroad, just as it has exported its view of Chinese diasporas as part of its own internal system, even if people choose to live elsewhere. So it believes it has the right to make the determinations of the succession in the Dalai Lama scenario. Quite confusing, given that the Chinese Communist Party is officially atheist, and yet it endorses its own involvement in the reincarnation process. Unfortunately, many people don't see the fact that what China is doing right now is no better than the colonial practices of European powers. With the major difference is when they left the former colonies, they made a clean cut, and those countries remained independent. China interferes in countries around the world, including India, which is now where the Dalai Lama currently lives. And that puts China on a collision course with New Delhi if it continues trying to advance these narratives and pressure India over that. Regarding its economic policies, of course, one could simply argue that China is simply competing with their European powers, that it has cheaper and more popular products. The only problem with that is that China has acquired those products not by means of fair competition, but by means of stealing intellectual products of Western countries and then capitalizing on them to flood those markets with the products based off that intellectual property, which makes it fruit of the poisonous tree. And Europe is quite right to be concerned about these dumping practices, precisely because they're not aimed at fair competition. They're aimed at destroying European markets and destroying European products at China's expense.
Yes, Irina Sukerman, thank you very much for joining us. We move on to our next